Hello, Miles.
Very good. Welcome to Bases 130.
Thank you.
And you've come the whole way from Southampton.
Southampton, yes, I
My
have. Today I've driven up from Southampton.
God almighty. And you've had a traumatic time.
So, as you know, my name's Tina Bird. I am 51 years old, and I was born and lived in Southampton in England, southern England. And my story or an account starts when I was 6 years old. As a 6-year-old, in the middle of the night, went to bed as normal. Woke up to a feeling that I was alert. I felt very alert, and I'm not sure what it was. I got out of bed. I had my long pink nightie on, and I took 2 steps and I listened. My brother's door was to the right of my bedroom. Their door was open, and all 3 of them were asleep. I could hear them breathing. I took another step towards the threshold of my door, and I could hear my parents lightly snoring and breathing. So I knew they were fine, but I still felt really alert. I felt frozen to the spot. I'm not sure. I just seemed to be listening. The landing or bathroom light was on, and all of a sudden, a bright white light shot through down from the ceiling, straight through the hallway, through the floor. And I was mesmerised. I was frozen to the spot. Not sure how long I was there for. After a couple of seconds, I presume, this face appeared, made of light. It was in the light, and it filled up the whole of the landing where I was stood. And it looked like a curly-haired old gentleman. It was made of light, see-through light. And I turned to run into my bedroom, and the beam shot forward, overtook me, and I don't remember anything else. And that was my first encounter at 6 years old. Hi, I'm Tina Bird, and I'm 51 years old, and I'm from Southampton. And I live in England. I'm just a normal everyday person.
Now, are you sure about that?
There's absolutely nothing special about me. I'm a human 51-year-old female.
Well, you are unique in that you have had these experiences.
Yeah, they're experiences I've had throughout my life, and they've been very traumatic at times. And yeah, I don't really know what to say. It's been traumatic, and it's something that's been a constant on and off throughout my life.
What about your parents or anything like that?
So
Your family?
yeah, my father was born in Surrey. He was 49 when he passed away. My mum, it still lives in Southampton, still in the same house that I was abducted from as a child. She still lives there today, and she was born and bred in Southampton. My dad used to be a chief ship's engineer, and my mum used to work for Pirelli's and in Southampton. And I have 3 brothers. I have 2 older and 1 younger brothers, no sisters.
You've managed to capitalise, you've managed to write books, you've managed to analyse your situation, face it, deal with it. And this is what this is all about. It's making alien abduction an empowered situation. And just while we're talking, you are running a conference next year, that's 2023. Could you just let us know all about that?
Yes, certainly. So next year on the 22nd and 23rd of April 2023 at Jubilee Hall in Hampshire and Bishop's Waltham, I'm putting on a 2-day Encounters Conference, which will entail someone from every field of ufology. There'll be someone there, Gary Hesseltine from the UFO Truth magazine, and also Ben Emlyn Jones. He's a author. He will be there. David Hodrian, he's the chairman of Birmingham UFO Group, BUFOG, and he's a lead investigator in alien abduction. Also, Lorraine Wilkins, she's there. She's an advocate for Marshall Van Summers. So he's sold millions of copies of his books. He will be there. There's also going to be... I'm going to be speaking. Also, on that note, will be Maria Whitley. She's coming to host it. I met Maria, a very interesting lady. She's also from around these parts. So she's coming to host it for us. Gary Thomas, he's going to come and talk about crop circles. So there's a spectrum right across the ufology field to lecture about, and we're really looking forward to it, and I hope to see you all there. Tickets are very cheap. You can buy them online via Encounter's Facebook webpage, and you can go on there and it takes you through to Wiki links or Wix links, and you can just click on RSVP and buy a ticket. Buy them while they're still available. There are limited tickets for seating, but it'd be good to bring everyone from across different fields of ufology together, and to so people can understand and see what's going on for themselves.
Well, that's bloody marvellous. So, again, where is it and where do you get the tickets? I didn't quite get where that was.
So it's going to be at the Jubilee Hall. That's in Bishop's Waltham on Saturday the 22nd and Sunday the 23rd of April 2023. And you can buy the tickets on Facebook. If you click on Tina Bird on Facebook, or Encounters, there's an Encounters web page. You can click on that, and there's a Wix link. If you click on the Wix link, it would take you to my...
Now, what's this Wix link? I wasn't quite sure
about that. So it's my website page. It's made through Wix, and it's a website page to keep costs down. Just click on the RSVP, and it gives you a choice of tickets and days if you want to buy a table, or if you just want to go sit buy a seat to sit and watch. £30 a ticket for Saturday and £30 a ticket for Sunday.
Well, that's very reasonable and absolutely fantastic. So, do you have an email address you'd just like to state if you need people wanted to get through to you, or a telephone number or something?
So you can message me on Facebook. I'm Tina Bird on Facebook. You can message me on Encounters on Facebook, or I have an email address of tinkjepson@sky.com. That's TINKJEPSON@sky.com. Or you can leave a message, and you can also go onto Wix, TA Bird author website, and that's me, and you can leave a message on there to chat with me, and I'll get back to you.
Brilliant. Okay, well that's that little commercial for the conference next year, but we're not actually dealing with with this is about the whole thing. So let's start basis 130, and here we are with Tina Bird. That's BIRD, not BY. So do you have a connection with the Admiral?
I think distantly, there is a distant. The Bird family comes from England in Surrey, but I have Norwegian.
Another one of those Norwegian people.
Yeah, I have Norwegian.
We just got a phone call from somebody in Norway, and we just had to say, look, we're doing this and that, and we're doing that and this. So explain all about that. And I mean, this is important. I mean, do you have a Nordic connection with the
Yes, I do. I did an ancestry.
rhesus negative stuff all comes up.
That's correct. So I did an ancestry DNA test for my mum to do family research, to keep her active, to give her something to do. And I found out that my DNA goes back. I have Danish blood in me.
Oh my God.
I have Norwegian, mainly English, Welsh, Norwegian. So a lot of Nordic blood. And I also have got 1% of somewhere in France or Spain, but I am over.
What do you mean a 1% of France or Spain?
There's a
if you're a French, there's a mountain range between.
No, there's a mountainous region, some part I can't remember. That's on my DNA.
Pyrenees or something?
Yeah, right? I'm not quite sure what.
We're taking this very seriously, Tina. I mean, this is important stuff.
But but the rhesus negative, the blood test thing is. I didn't know I was actually O rhesus negative. I had to have an emergency operation for an ectopic pregnancy, which I'd suffered. and I'm allergic to anaesthetic, so they had great complications with my surgery, and there's this severe issues. And when I managed to come round eventually from the surgery, the surgeon said, you should have told us that you were rhesus negative. And I kind of like wasn't quite with it, and I thought, well, how do you know your blood group until somebody tells you? You don't know your blood
apparently
group.
you're not allowed to know this.
Yeah, you don't know
unless you're pregnant, and I haven't been pregnant recently, that's for sure.
Well, I didn't even know that I was O rhesus negative. It wasn't until after the operation that they told me. And my husband at the time had to sign consent form because I had to have the anti-D injection, which is made up from 1 or 2 women's antibodies or bone marrow who has it, because I wasn't too clued up on what O rhesus negative meant. And it means that my antibodies, blood in my body, wants to kill any fetus or baby that I grow. So it saw my baby as an alien invader and proceeded to attack itself. So by the time they'd operated...
But surely they would have done something about that. I mean, they should have... I mean, they should have your medical records. They should know that.
Well, I wasn't that quite young. I was probably in my early 30s at the time. I'd had a few miscarriages, but and I had surgery previously, and they didn't really do anything. I think it's because I required blood, and then they'd realised that I was O rhesus negative. With that, I had to sign a consent form. So each time I go into hospital, or they take blood before I have an operation, I'm O rhesus negative, so I have to tell them that. But unfortunately, I can't be a blood donor because now I've had 2 lots of antibodies from women who have O rhesus negative as well. So I'm not allowed to give blood because O rhesus negative, I didn't know either, is a universal blood group as well.
This is getting very complicated. Okay, let's start back to your earliest childhood and what happened and why things are happening the way they are.
So I had a normal childhood growing up. It wasn't until the age of 6 that I didn't even know then that there was anything wrong. I just woke up one night, felt really uneasy. It wasn't really like me. I was a good sleeper. I just felt so alert, and I woke up and there was nothing going on, but I was listening. I was listening very intently. I got out of bed. I walked towards my brother's room, and I could hear everyone breathing. My mum and dad was fine. I could hear them breathing and lightly snoring. And all of a sudden, this beam of light shot down through the ceiling and went through to the floor. That's my first ever real encounter, and I was shocked, didn't know what to do. This giant face appeared in the landing hallway in front of me in the light, made of the light, and it zoomed towards me. I don't know how long I was there. For me, it was a few seconds. I tried to turn to run into my bedroom. The light overtook me, and I don't remember nothing after that. But that was my first encounter at the property at my mum's house when I was 6. I tried to think about it, I think, for a few days. I didn't say anything to no one at first. But you don't, after a couple of days, especially as a kid, it leaves you. You don't think of things like that and you go back to sleep. It wasn't a dream. I was awake. I was walking about. And that was it. And I think it wasn't that long after that I had dreams of flying and floating about. And kids do as dreams, as a child and that. Growing up, you dream you fly. Every now and then I used to wake up to a flash of light. So I wasn't asleep, I was awake. You'd see a flash of light and then I'd either be put back or I'd be taken. And majority of the time, I don't remember nothing, which is a good thing. I think whatever they used at the time did not work correctly on me, or it worked and just wore off. I wasn't sure, but I'd wake up and I had tiny holes in my leg and the first time. And I got out of bed and walked around the room. And my father obviously had me walking about and inspected my room, inspected my leg, dabbed some Detox, the old-fashioned Detox on my leg. And he said, it's the middle of the night, what are you doing walking about? How have you hurt yourself? And I'm like, I didn't know. I'm not prone to sleepwalking, never have been. So, but a few months later, or a few years later, the same kind of thing happened. About 2 inches above my last scar on my leg, same thing happened. Woke up and there was another hole. The one constant thing, as from that, nothing else really stood out for me. Life takes over. You go to school, you have family days, you have good days, bad days, you grow up, you go to the seaside. Life overtakes your events, but you remember when you see something up close or something happens to you, you know that you've seen it. It's not a dream, you're up and you're walking about. The next time, and something really happened, was drilling of my teeth. That was horrendous. I was a teenager.
Well, there's no change there. I mean, I think I've been to a dentist. Does that sort of thing happen? I mean, I'm deliberately putting a little bit of fun into this because this is actually very serious.
Yeah, I was coming up to be a teenager, and there was a bright white flash of light, and I was just in my room, and I woke up, and I couldn't wake up before that. This flash of light, it was holding me. I couldn't open my eyes, and I could feel the vibration of my teeth being drilled, and it was felt like dry chalk being crumbled. My teeth crumbled into dry chalk, and it was awful. It was terrible puffy dryness, and it was terrible vibration. And all of a sudden it stopped, and it felt like magnetic ants, metal ants, would then glue my teeth back together very, very quickly. It seemed terrible. That kind of thing plagued me for many years, and it eventually kind of eased off after about 15, 20 years. And in my late to mid 20s, it went down to maybe once a year. It used to happen 2 or 3 times a year. And then I'd had nothing for ages, and I'd forget about it, and it would happen again. But as I got older, it finally reduced down. Now it doesn't happen at all. So kind of either once I've old enough to go through the change of life or got older, it seemed to stop. But that was very traumatic, very painful.
And was there any evidence for this or any kind of
No? So
thing
I woke
with
up
doctors or what?
So I woke up one night and told my father I had blood in my mouth, and I went into the hallway. My father came out of his room and said, "What's the matter?" And he had a look. He said, "What have you done? Bit your tongue?" And he took me in the bathroom and washed my mouth out. He looked at my tongue, around my teeth. He couldn't see anything wrong. Couldn't see if I'd nicked myself. He wasn't a bit unsure. He couldn't see where the blood come from. None of my teeth, all good. He took me to the dentist the next morning. He phoned the dentist up. Took me to Dr. LeGarrett's in Woolston at the time. And they had a look. Couldn't find anything at all wrong with me.
So was this a physical thing that had evidence, or what? I mean, was this an imaginary thing?
Well, no, at the time I just passed it off thinking perhaps, I'm having bad dreams and I'm biting my teeth in my sleep. But it's not till recent years, last few years, that my teeth have actually been crumbling and breaking and snapping off. I'm in very good health. I've seen a dentist. I'm actually under the maxillofacial oral surgery people at Southampton General Hospital, and they're looking into it at the moment for me. I'm due to see them on the 24th of this month, actually.
So this is a long-term thing?
Yes. I think all health implications for abductees are serious, and if this happens to you as a child like it has me, and there's other cases, and it's not just women it happens to, it's men. I've spoken to other male abductees and female abductees, and the same thing. There's no recourse for abductees. There's no health care, no help, you can't really tell a doctor, I've been abducted. They're just not going to believe you. You turn up at your doctor's with holes in your body, or you go to have an operation and they find inexplicable things within your body, and it's painful. It causes so much pain because as you get older, things that have happened in your body get worse and become painful.
Right, Tina, we're continuing this introduction into the history of your abductees and alien material, alien stuff. So could you sort of pick up on the last thing that you were saying and sort of explore what's sort of going on here?
So after, as a teenager, you don't really, it's not as if you keep a diary and keep it all together. You just keep note of things that have happened throughout your life. It's like, so by the time I was a teenager, what I kind of remembered as I was 6, kind of, you put to the back of your mind, I was a teenager, things happen in your life moves on. So I had the drill in the teeth, the holes in the leg. Didn't really put it down to alien abduction. I just put weird things that have happened to me. You don't really understand what's going on at that age. And as you become older, you become more aware. Well, when I was 16, my father sadly passed away. He was a chief engineer. He had a heart attack and died. And I suffered a sleep paralysis episode. So when people say it is sleep paralysis, what's happening to you is sleep paralysis. It's not. One particular night, I was laid on at home on my front, with my head over the front right hand side of the bed, was slightly over, and I was on my chest, face down, and I couldn't kind of wake up. I knew I was asleep, and seemed like I was trying to wake up. Everything was very blurred. An incredible, intense feeling, nothing like I felt before. It felt like there was something in the room with me, and I started to panic because I realised I couldn't breathe. It felt like I was suffocating, and I was getting in more of a panic because I could not breathe. And then I just woke up. I closed my eyes, began to, I think, hyperventilate, and next thing I know, it was morning. So the difference between alien abduction or being taken and a episode like that is, when you're taken, you don't know that you cannot breathe. When you have one of these sleep paralysis episodes, you know you can't breathe and you panic. You can feel and sense things around you. When you're taken, it feels like sometimes that you're numb, you're frozen, and you can only look in front of you. And you can't feel touch and things like that. So, and you don't know, you can't sense that you're breathing or not. So in a sleep episode, you panic because you know you can't breathe. And when you're taken, you don't sense or feel anything. So you don't know you're breathing. And the second thing is that, if you're dreaming and waking up, there's a difference. But you also know when you're walking, running, sleeping, stood in your room, walking about, you know that you're up, you're about, you're alert, you are not asleep. There's a huge difference. And it's not every day that you wake up to find something in your room that shouldn't be there. So after being 16, having a sleep paralysis episode, I kind of knew that the light kind of switches on a bit, if you'd like to say, that what had happened to me previous years it was real. And you don't really want to face the horror, I think, of that, and you don't say anything to anybody. Time's passed, you want to move on with your life. So the next real thing after that, I was had dreams. Now I think they were dreams, or what they call out of body experiences. I don't know, but all I know is that I used to have these dreams, what I thought were dreams. Dreaming isn't different. You can't really control dreams, but it was like a dream I could control, and I wasn't in my bedroom. I was flying. I felt like I was in a bubble, or I was just flying, and I could control. I'd think about my auntie's house, and I'd fly there. I mean, you could see the roads below me. I could see the mountains. I could see traffic lights. I could see bushes. I could see road signs. And the higher up you got, the smaller everything seemed. And of course, by the end of your dream, or wherever you're going, on the way back, if you want to take a different route, and you gradually got lower and lower and lower till you kind of run out of steam, and next thing you know, felt like you're being thrown back in your bedroom. So that happened for a while, and then but it wasn't like every day. It was intermittent. Every now and then you'd have it. And then I went to married to my husband. No, before that I was in a flat up in this flat it was a horrific night. I'll never forget it. It's burned into my memory. Went to bed as normal. I lived in a 3-floor, 2-bedroom masonette on the 3rd floor. And so I went to bed, middle of the night, and I woke up. Bathroom light was on. There's a light emanating from the hallway. And this thing came into my bedroom. Now, I don't know if the door opened or it walked through the door. It must have been... It seemed to move. It was like a cloaked, hooded figure. It was about 7 to 9 feet tall, absolutely huge, and it kind of walked rather than glided, and I was horrified. I'm quite a feisty woman when I was younger. I still am now a bit, but I went to move to jump out of bed, and the first thing I went to grab was the lamp next to my bed, and as I went to move, and I thought, what the hell was that? I was ready. It's like fight or flight, and I was going to fight. And I was going to jump over the bed and kind of grab the thing. But everything, there was a flash of light. Next thing I know, a weird feeling came over me. I was laid flat on the bed. Nothing seemed to have changed or moved in the room apart from me. A bit of thickness in my head, but I was up, I was alert. I was petrified. I wasn't sure what had happened or what had gone on. I jumped up, switched the lights on. I searched underneath my bed. I searched the hallway, put every light on in the house upstairs. I searched the spare room cupboards. I searched the bathroom cupboard. Went downstairs, switched all the light on. The door was still bolted from the inside, and I'm 3 floors up. There's nothing in the kitchen. I checked the kitchen cupboards. I checked underneath the sofa. I checked everywhere. And I'm not sure how long I stood in my living room or the hallway. I was just petrified, waiting for something to jump out or come out. I couldn't tell you how long I was there for. Could have been 20 minutes, could have been 2 hours. And then I just went in the kitchen and made myself a cup of tea. And then I was petrified for a few days, actually. I didn't really want to stay there. I felt unsafe, and I'm not quite sure what happened. But that always stuck in my mind. And then... nothing seemed to happen for a little while, and then one thing that did happen. I was married to my second husband at the time, and there was a flash of light in the bedroom, and I woke up and remember seeing the flash of light, and I felt very alert. I got up, checked the whole house. Couldn't see anything. All the doors were locked, all the windows were locked. Checked the whole house, went back to bed and just put it down to just something must have just disturbed me. Went back to bed, saw another flash, and next thing I know, it was morning. And my husband literally had gone to work, and I woke up with this intense pain in my bottom, like a stinging, like I've been stung by a bee or wasp on my bum cheek. And
yeah, we can say that word.
on my bum cheek, and it stung like mad, and it so irritated me. I couldn't move, couldn't sit down, and it's always like on a Friday or weekend, and when my husband came home, I was like pouncing on him. I said, look, I've had this pain all day, it's getting worse. I think I've been stung by a bee or a wasp. I said, could you just have a look and just see if there's a tail in there or a sting, can you get it out? So he went upstairs. He didn't want to do it. He said, go to the doctors. I said, no, I just need you to get it out. Can you have a look? Anyway, so begrudgingly, I gave him some tweezers, some Dettol, some cotton wool, and he had the like nail clippers that looked like little pliers. And he had those. And I laid on the bed, and he had a look, and he said, there's no scars, no marks on your bottom. And I got his finger and put it where it is. I said, look, you can feel there's a hot lump underneath the skin. And he's like, actually, yeah, there is. He said, but there's no marks, there's no scar, you've not been bitten, there's nothing, not even a spot. He said, it's like a peach. He said, there's nothing on there. He said, so I don't know how that got in there. It must be like an infected spot or something coming up underneath the skin. I said, look, just get it out, it's stinging me. So begrudgingly, he got hold of the tweezers and the pliers and cut my skin. That really hurt, it stung. And I could feel a bit of cutting and pulling and what have you. And there was in these tweezers he had a little piece of what looked like grey membrane. It wasn't white, it wasn't pink, it looked like a dirty grey membrane. And he said there's something in it. And as he like cut this membrane, held it with a tweezer and cut it with a there was a tiny metallic silver ball. It looked silver or metallic, it looked like a ball bearing, but very, very small one, very tiny. And he said, I don't know how that got in there. He tried to break it with the thick nail tool, the nail pliers. He tried to cut it and it broke the nail pliers. And the second he took it out of my body, the stinging stopped. The second he took it out of my body, there's no pain. It all went. The stinging stopped. And that was it. He wrapped it up in tissue and he looked shocked. He said, I don't know how that got in there. There was no marks on your bottom. He said, no. And it freaked him out more than it did me. And he wrapped it up in tissue, went into the bathroom. He didn't talk to me for about 20 minutes. And he didn't want to discuss it or anything like that. You could tell he was bothered by it. But I was just happy that the stinging had stopped. So that's something that happened. And then a few weeks later, I was in the shower and my husband came in and in the bathroom and he said, what's that? I said, what? He said, turn around. He said, I've just seen something on your bottom. I said, what? He said, you've got a mark. He said, there's a round mark on your bottom about 2 inches below, like 2 puncture marks below, beside where he'd taken this, because it was a tiny nick, it healed up. Where he'd taken this ball bearing thing out my bottom, and there was a scar there. So I don't know how you've done that. And I didn't even know it was there. He spotted it when I was in the shower. So I didn't know how that got there. And then I went to, my passport was up for renewal, and what had happened, sometimes you could be taken once and never again in your lifetime, or you're taken many times and don't know it. I believe personally myself, the amount of people I've seen up there, hundreds of people have been taken. They were awake but asleep. So there's many, many people up there that don't even know that.
Awake but asleep.
So this particular night I'm talking about, I woke up and there was like a flash of light again. And there was a huge searchlight. The searchlight looked like a giant searchlight on some type of scaffolding. I didn't know it was that at first. It was just this bright light that was blinding me. And it wasn't until I seemed to move sideways to the left, sideways. And I couldn't move. I could only see forwards. I couldn't see down my body. I could just see forwards. And this thing, I moved sideways. I didn't realise that I was on this travelator thing, this framework that was on the ceiling. And I moved to the left slightly, and then after I'm not sure, maybe a minute or two or a couple of seconds, I don't know, I moved again. It wasn't until I moved again that I could see this scaffolding with this huge light on, and this box in the middle of the light looked black. I couldn't see how big it was because the distance, it's quite a distance away from where I was, and I was a good, I'd say 12 to 15 feet off the floor. So I thought I was just suspended in the air, and it wasn't till it moved again. As it turned, so I'm here. I didn't realise there was other people next to me. There was hundreds of people on this, what I'd call a travelator thing. So as I moved, this thing turned slightly like that. And then that's when I saw the guy next to me. There's a guy next to me with short brown cut hair, with like a silvery suit on, clean shaven face. Probably put him in his late 30s, early 40s, but I couldn't see the front of the face because he was at the same angle I was. So as I turned, he turned, and I just caught him out of this eye here because I could only look forward. So as they turned me, my vision changed. And then that's when I saw this thing came round like a big hairpin thing, and it went like that, and it moved. And then that's when I saw all the other people going that way, and all the other people there. There was hundreds of human beings, and at the back it's like a rail, and there was like a metal fish hook, a giant fish hook that went down the back of the head, behind the neck, and it was holding us up by the armpits in like a clamp on the neck and underneath the armpits. And they were fully clothed, and their eyes were all open like mine was, I couldn't blink. I could not blink, but I could just look forward. But I could see. So perhaps they could see as well, or it's the fact that whatever they were using to sedate us or subdue us didn't seem to work on me. But I couldn't blink. Perhaps the other people were awake. I don't know. But there was hundreds of people up there. I can't be the only one to remember that. And as I moved along, there was I could see there was a pit like a working warehouse thing in front of me. So I'm about 12, 15 feet in the air, and as I could only look forward, I could see there was like a big bay at the bottom with like panels, separate panels on, and all these little glowing white beings were walking about. And these panels, like they were doing stuff because the light was reflecting off their skin. So you could see the light reflecting off the skin. And the one that knows me was right in front of me, literally probably about 10 feet that way, away from up. I was high, he was about 10 feet that way. And just to the left of him, probably a few feet away from him, were the three little ones, all like huddled together, seemed to be working to do something. And he didn't move his head, but he linked with me. So what I mean by link is like a Wi-Fi. I stopped seeing that in my eyes, and it's like you could talk to him through Wi-Fi. Now it wasn't until I realised over the years that that's how he communicated, or we spoke. It's like a two-way mirror. They can hear you listening.
Like a hive mind,
It's
hive
exactly
link.
like a hive mind.
I mean,
So
are you familiar with the Borg in the Star Trek series?
it's something. That's the best comparison. Actually, I could put it to. It's like a two-way mirror. They can hear you listening, so you could hear them in their link, but they can hear you listening. It's quite hard to describe, and it's like all around you. It's not like a little tube. It's like a Wi-Fi link, but in space, in the space you're in. And now they have. I've learned over the years, like a direct link. I have a direct link to him. Well, I like to call it the link. So a direct Wi-Fi link to the one that knows me, and then there's a link for every ship you're in. They have like a different Wi-Fi code or different Wi-Fi, so it kind of smells or tastes different, or a different vibration in your head. So it's different in each kind of ship you're on.
How do you know that? How does that work?
Well,
I mean, how do you know that it's different?
Because it feels different in your head. So it's like a scent or smell. So just supposing I walked past you and I thought, that's Miles, he always smells of Kentucky Fried Chicken. Or
don't bring Kentucky Fried Chicken into this. We've already had a whole TV show about that. For God's sake, don't mention Confessions of an Alien Abductee to me at any time.
Sorry.
God, I'll never live that down.
So, but it's like my Auntie Pat maybe smells of like... so if I walk past my Auntie Pat, she would wear this certain perfume. I just call it mince pies or something, and I could smell mince pies. I'd know it was my Auntie Pat talking to me because of the smell. You know, she could be stood behind me, but I'd recognise the scent and I'd recognise the tone. So in your head, when you're in the link, or when you're in their Wi-Fi link, as I'd put it, it's a different scent or tone. It's like smelling, but in your head. So it's like a different scent or frequency. That's the only way I can.
Now, is this because you're picking this up with your smell senses? It's stimulating parts of your senses within your brain, which is.
I don't know if I can smell them out there because
the same way that when people read words, they see colours or things like that.
I have no idea. I don't know. I'm not a scientist. I can only tell you what's happened to me.
Okay.
But so that's and it felt different, and also when like. Between 1 and 8 of them are very close to me. The one that knows me could be in the same room and I can link to him straight away. Now I don't know if that's because he's been with me when he's taken me so many times over the years that I'm familiar with it, and it doesn't. You identify him as someone you know. But the little ones don't want to link with you. I'm not sure if they can link. The little worker ones, the small ones you see. They're like worker bees, if you like. They can or don't link or won't link with you. The ones that are a bit taller, like the one that's about 4 feet tall, the one that knows me, he links with me. He can link with me instantly. So I've only got to look at him. So when they look over you, the first time I twigged that they were doing it is when they look over you. So when they look over you and they're like this close to your face, It's not so they can look in your face and your eyes. It's to see if you can link with them, see if you can talk to him. So the first few times he'd come close to me, and I could see him close, and he'd link. And after that, I could sense him without. If I was like on a table and I was looking up, you can only see like this in front of you. You can't see who's behind you or the other side of you. But if he came within about 8 or 10 feet of me and I couldn't see him, I could link automatically to him, just like an automatic magnetic link. So this particular time when I'm on this travelator thing, he was about 10 feet from me. When 8 of them talk, I can pick it up. When there's more than 8 or 16 like in the room, it's too quick. I can't understand what they're saying. It's like a grey fuzz. It blurs you out. It goes too fast. I can't understand what they're saying or doing. But when they slow
But they
it down,
can.
sorry,
They can understand each other.
they can. It's so quick. It's so quick. Whether that's their level, like I speak quite fast, I think, for a human. But they speak in this link. It's like, I don't know the words for it. Is it like nanosecond, or it's so fat? It's so fast. I can't comprehend it. It's
Does
such
it sound like a lot of sort of
No,
a lot of fast
it sounds
whispering?
like a
Or what?
colour. It's like you've been blacked out with grey, like you've been muffled down, if that's a word. And it just, I think your brain can't comprehend it. When it's one-on-one, like when I talk to the one that knows me, I think he's learnt to talk slowly, and he's more, I think, it's like breaking it down to understand. It's you don't verbally speak to them. It's pictures and images in your head. He showed me images of the signs they would call for male and female, and he was surprised that I could understand what he was showing me. Because when they show you it, it's like a second, and in that millisecond, it's like a silver cord being ripped through your head with information on it. It is that fast. So I think he tries to slow it down so what I would understand it. He showed me symbols, there were numbers, but he showed me images of their sign for male and female, and he tried explaining things in these slow images, and he's quite impressed actually that I understood and got it. But while he was doing that, the 3 little ones next to him, when you come out of the link, you stop. You're looking back out of your eyes again. When you're in the link, you're not looking out of your eyes. So when I was looking at my eyes, the 3 little ones were looking at him, and they didn't look very happy. I don't think he was supposed to be talking to me. I think I was supposed to be sedated. And they would stop their task, what they were doing, and they physically turned to look at him. Because they can do their task and talk to each other, not look at each other. But they physically stopped what they were doing. I think that is when they alerted the others around him, the ones that were doing things further back. And I think he was watching me. He was communicating, but what he does, they can stop you in the link. So in the link, they can stop you, block you, if you like. They're blocking you, either to protect you from them or protect them from you, to stop you learning the information. Because once you're in the link, you could look at anything if you know how to do it or what to look for. When you're growing up...
What do you mean by look at anything?
So...
Pictures, data, information about the craft?
No,
or
it's
what?
like watching a movie. So it's like watching a TV screen. The Wi-Fi extends around you, and they put you in a bubble. So they say, look at that TV screen up there, look at the top left hand, look at that. They want you to look at it. So your attention is drawn to the top left hand corner of this giant wall thing, like TV screens. And they say, look a bit closer, and you're concentrating. I think that's the key. And you're concentrating, and when you're concentrating and you look up at the left hand screen, they kind of put you in a bubble in it. So you're actually in that picture or in that stream or in that video stream, if you like. And once you're in there, they can send you back 2-3 million years to a different film, or forwards to a different film. So that's the only way I can describe how they move about in the link. So I've been in the link before, and there is different links on different ships you can hear. So another time they took me, there was at least 16 of them in the room with me. I was laid naked on this bench looking up, and there was lights, and they sat me up at like a 30-degree angle. So I was just literally looking down my chest and at the end of the bed, and this bench, and they were there. The one that knows me was there, and it was a group. And now the one that knows me was in control. It was definitely an experiment. They definitely wanted to see how I connected or got on. He was blocking me from hearing, because you automatically connect once you know how to do it, or you're there. It automatically happens. It's not something you've got instructions for. It's just like a switch that flicks on inside you. So I connected to him instantly, but I couldn't hear the other little. There was like the closest, like 4 or 5 here. I couldn't hear any of them. So I was only hearing him. So the link we had was just going between me and him. Now there's a different frequency you can hear. It's like you can hear them pushing against a membrane in your head. You can hear them pushing against the link. Now that's them blocking you, because that's the sound or noise of them and the link. The link's still going on. It's like you're in a bubble next to the link. So you can't hear what they're saying. You can't hear the information they're passing or what they want to happen. So what he said to me next was I had to agree to behave. So if I agreed to behave, I was allowed to get up. I've never got up and walked around before this on anywhere they've taken me. I've always been subdued. And you feel drugged, like a bitter taste in your chest or inside you, like it is terrible. So I felt that, and then I had to agree to behave to get up, and I agreed. So as I agreed to get up, it felt like I was being controlled from behind. Very slow, very sluggish movement, and I got down off this bench thing, and by then I looked like I had a rag on. Normally I'm naked. I didn't have it was like a some type of rag. Didn't have any shoes or anything on. The floor looked like a grey black, like brittle concrete on the floor, but I couldn't feel it as I walked. Felt like numb, if you like, to a point. And I walked very slowly, and then as I walked forwards a couple of steps, I stopped, and I could see at the end, probably about 20-30 feet away from the end of this bench I've been on, was this hundreds of podiums of pods about 2 feet tall on top of these podiums, giant black pods. And now in the 60s, 70s, you used to have these glass coffee mugs that when you put coffee drink in them, they looked black. These look like that. They look like glass or metal, very shiny black at first. And he kind of urged me to walk towards it. So as I walked towards it, I saw a little red light in there. And then as I went to approach these pods, this little white being, I say it's about white being, he looked like one of the other little ones. He's about 2 foot tall. They all look kind of the same. You couldn't pick them out. Some of them are different skin tones, but I don't know why they call them greys. They're glowing white. And it was so fast. It ran, come out of nowhere, and it kind of did an S shape, ran between these pods and stood from here to the other side of the camera there. And it was stood in front of me, and I stopped, and it perceived me. It didn't link with me, didn't talk to me, but what I got off of it was perceiving me as a threat. Direct threat. Now I could feel there was at least 18, 20 to my right, stood back. It was definitely an experiment. The one that knows me was directly behind me, and he was blocking me from hearing them. But when he started communicating with the little one, I could hear, and it was like he ordered him to step back. He told him to step back so I could approach the pods. Like a command that was given, and it was understood. I think he was definitely running the show, but I think they were definitely watching what the one that knows me was doing. They were watching everything. And so I was allowed to approach this thing, stood back. It stood over to my left, right, but it did not want me there. It definitely saw me as a threat. And as I went over there, because I'm quite tall, and I leant forward slightly like that, it wasn't a fast movement. And I was allowed to move. Before, it was like I just seemed to be shuffling along in like a bit of a haze. But when I got there, I could peer down. There was about this wide, about this tall, on a little podium, these black pods. And I saw this little red light in there, and I wanted to touch it. And as I leant forward, he wasn't sure, and I could hear him say, he was trying to explain to about what inquisitive, I was kind of inquisitive. So I leant forward, I put my hand on top of the pods, and then I stopped hearing him straight away. The second I physically touched that pod, I stopped hearing him. All of a sudden I heard hundreds of little girls' voices, tiny little squeaks. They were individual little girls' voices. They're all voices that I knew. And they were only girls, and I'm not quite sure what happened, whether they physically removed me from the pod or they pulled me back, but they could not get in the link. So all these babies were talking to me and I could hear them. It was very, very quick, like little pipsqueaks, hundreds of them. So next thing I know, my hand is off this. Now, whether that broke the link, me taking my hand off, but in that couple of seconds, I actually felt something. My hand felt cold, and I never felt anything before. I always felt quite numb. My hand felt cold, and they must have realised I started to panic for a second, because he was reassuring me in an instant. He was going, no, look inside, see that red light? That red light is keeping the baby warm. He said, it's temperature controlled inside. He said, the baby's warm inside. He said, I think they wanted me to calm down. And I said, well, he said, yeah, the outside's cool. He said, but the inside is the baby's warm. That's all the message I kept getting. The babies are fine, because I was concerned that they were cold. He said, we're not hurting them. And he said, that red light is keeping the babies warm in there. And then he started to show me stuff. And I think that's their way of calming me down. I think because of my size, I think any human being, you could easily grab one of those and be in control. I think the only way that they can control humans is by subduing them. But yeah, I could easily grab hold of one of them and they not be in control. So the way that they're in control of us is by subduing us. Anyway, so I'd step back and I'd calm down a bit. The babies were fine. Then that's when he was trying to get me thinking again. He's going, it's the embryonic fluid, he said, is not the same as human beings. I must have asked a question. So you don't physically ask a question. It's like a thought, and they read your thoughts as questions. So he said no. He said they have we can't make embryonic fluid to the same level as a human. So it's artificial, what you call artificial embryonic fluid. So they may be technologically advanced and they may have all this biological stuff, but they can't make embryonic fluid to the same levels as humans. Perhaps that's why they need human women and fetuses and things like that. So to get me to calm down a bit and to step away from the pods, because I hadn't moved it this time, I saw at the corner of my eye a red pulse shoot underneath the floor, like a red light, and underneath it. So I turned to follow it. I was allowed to follow it. And I think that was their way of getting me away from the babies, getting me away from the pods, or getting ready to whatever they wanted to do next. And I felt like he was scientifically trying to teach me. He was amazed that I could understand. And he showed me, he said, this red light, and he showed me an image which I've drawn. Because this is how our energy works. And he showed me like 3 pictures of this energy, how it went in and it shot across like that really fast. It came in as a red thing, and there was like a wave. It was a wave with like a beam on it. It was like a carrier wave with another beam on it, if you like. And it went in like that, and it got faster. And then as it got faster, the last one, it slowed down. The wave went underneath, rejoined it, come back out, and it would go around the ship. And that's how it it worked. But as he finished telling me that, I was yanked back to this bench in a second, like a dog on a chain lead, and I just knew if I didn't behave, it was going to be over in more ways than one. They just wanted to get over what was coming next. So I was back on this bench, and he said to me, you won't be allowed to move. And I'm like, I didn't want to cooperate. Because I don't like being laid down. I don't like being flat. And he said if I agreed to behave, that they'd sit me up, but I would not be allowed to move. And I had to agree, and I said yes. Okay, that was fine. And still had this rag thing on the front of me, so I'm sat up like this, looking down. I could see my feet at the end of this bench, just over the end of this bench, and I could just see the pods in the distance. And there's the one that didn't want me there, the one that saw me as a threat. approached from the left-hand side at the bottom, and it walked up to the bottom of this bench I was on by my feet. And I was carrying a bundle like this. It didn't seem like it was holding it right. It was like carrying it at an awkward position, or it was awkward for him to hold. And I had a rag on it. And I thought, well, perhaps it's one of those black pods. And I didn't know, what was going to happen. And all of a sudden, he pulled this. He was holding a baby like this, and he like pulled this bit of rag down, and he held it up. And then it took me a couple of seconds to realise it was me. It was me. It was a clone of me. It was my baby. It was a spitting image of me as a baby. If you held my baby picture up in this pit, it was me as a baby. The hair, it had black, thick, really thick. The hair wasn't right. Had black, thick hair, and his eyes were open, and it was me with them. It was me, but spliced with them. The whole thing was me, apart from the eyes. Her eyes were like black, completely black. And she looked at me, and I don't know, I realised what they'd done. And in a split second, they'd yanked me down. I was flat as a pancake on this bench. I was just staring up, and it all went blank for I don't know how long. Could have been a couple of minutes, could have been a couple of seconds, I don't know. The next thing I know, the one that knows me stood over me, and he's going, I'm not sure what happened, and I wanted to know what happened. And he said, you frightened the baby. So they obviously saw the one the one at the end of the bed with the baby, obviously saw me as a threat, and I frightened the baby. And I think it's because I was freaked out. I think when they don't understand or they don't like our behaviour, that is certain, and they read our emotions as, I suppose, words or acts, if you like, our emotions. They read our emotions as that, but they're emotionless inside. This like they're like a black void inside. And he said they'd agreed to sit me up, but I'd have to agree to see the baby again. And I'm like, what's happened to the baby? What's going on, kind of thing. And he said the baby wants to meet you, and I'm like, at the time you don't realise it. A baby, this baby looked between 6 and 8 months old. It was a chunky little girl, and she had very, very, very pink skin. She looked very, very pink. And he said I would not be allowed to move, and they were going to position me and sit me up. But I said to him, I want to be sat up. Unless I'm sat up, I'm not cooperating. So they sat me up. I won't be allowed to move. And then I was trying to ask questions, but he was kind of slowing me down to it. It's like, she wants to meet you. She wants to meet you. She wants to see you. And he goes, but you have to agree. So for some reason I had to agree. So I said yes. He said, but it won't be like last time. You will not be allowed to move. So the white flash happened again, and I was sat up, and my head was adjusted. So my arms were like, I think they were down, like that. But my head, it felt like someone had turned my neck and head that way. My shoulders were kind of that way, but my head and my body had been turned that way. So I was looking that way. I couldn't kind of see my feet. I could only see to the left of me, but I couldn't move my chest. Didn't know that I wasn't breathing. I could only just see out my eyes. This thing again, the one holding this baby, approached. The baby was covered again, and he came up to probably about 3 feet away from me, 2 feet away from me, and it held the baby out in front of him. He removed the cloth from the baby's face, and it looked like he had her by the arms, or underneath the arms, under this cloth thing, and he was holding her like that. It did not want to be near me, so he was probably another half a foot behind, say 3.5 feet away, and he was holding the baby at arm's length in front of him, up to my face. And the second the baby looked at me, we linked. We were in our own link. We weren't in their link at all. And she looked at me, and she did it looked like there was a glitch or a blink, because I couldn't see her. And then I looked inside of her, and it was she was black. She was like them, but the one thing, she had all my memories from a baby, from a child, memories I'd forgotten. She had all my memories between 8 months and 2 years before. It was like a cut-off point, and that was it. So you imagine 6-month-old babies with the memories of a 45-year-old woman. She had all my memories, and And I said, she goes, I've taken a picture. I said, well, why do you want to meet me? And she said, I've taken a picture so the others will know where they've come from, so I can say that I've met you, so I've bonded with you. So they need the bonding process. I've called my book The Bonded, The Alien Abduction, The Truth, The Bonded, The Truth About Alien Abduction. So when people say, why have you called it The Bonded? What's The Bonded about? The most profound thing that I've found and sensed about them making these babies is that they need that human bond. So when they show abductees these babies, it's not for our benefit whatsoever. It's for the baby's benefit, because she told me that she took an image of me, and I said, can you show me? And she showed me an image in my head. I looked horrendous. I looked like my hair was a mess. I looked like I'd been dragged through a bush backwards. I looked very pink in the face. I had this rag on. I looked terrible. And I said, oh God, you're not going to show that to him? She said, yeah. But within that image was pictures. It contained like my pulse rate, my pheromone level, my hormone level. It had everything on every single level. And she said, when the others hatch, when the others are older, this picture is going to be in the link, so they all know where they came from, so they can look back at any time and see I am where they came from and who I was, and that it's like a catalogue. It's like a instant scientific catalogue of the person I was. And then she was so black inside. She was void of emotion. It was me with them, but it was just my outer shell with them on the inside. She didn't seem to be human on the inside at all. No emotion or anything like that. And next thing I know, he either took the baby back, because I started seeing out my eyes again, and she went, and I didn't get kind of distressed, but I wanted to know, like, what's happening, where you taking her, what's going on. And it was never answered. They never answered my question of where they was taking her or what was happening. I never saw her again after that.
That's really serious, really wonderful. You're able to deal with that. But this bonding thing, do you want to try and, do you have any intuition, which is why they need to do that?
I don't know. I'm not sure if it's as human beings, the human side of us. We don't understand enough about human soul or the human spirit or death, or if they are using our biological DNA to create, just say, souls, they may be just creating the vessels. I believe that we're a vessel, and our soul or our consciousness or entity is inside them, mulling about, and the only time we leave it is when we die. They can choose to leave those bodies at will. They're like puppet bodies or vessels, if you like. But if they're using humans to do it, I think the give and take of that is, this is just from what my experience, what I understand just from my experiences. The rub for that is that they don't have our behaviour or our instinct. So they may have affection, or they don't have affection, or love, or they don't understand love. I don't know what it is, but that biological bond, that physical and biological bond between a mother and a baby, instinct is very, very strong in humans.
Well, I'm suggesting that because of the father situation, a lot of adoptions and family situations seem to make sure that the father is bonding with the child for at least the first year, maybe 18 months. And then that's dropped off. Once that, there's some process that seems to happen.
Yeah.
Which means the father's no longer required.
Yeah, I think the biological literally would be conception of the baby, but I feel men are more maternal, I think, than women are. To be honest with you, I think out of the two.
Explain that, and why do you say that?
I know men have an instinct to protect and look after, but women can be so vicious. I mean, for them taking that baby away from me, now whether they did it as a response, the protective, I didn't feel maternal or anything beforehand, and I don't now, but I felt a bond with it. And when they take away a baby or a newborn baby with you, it's like you taking a grizzly bear's newborn cub away from it. That's the instinct it provokes in human beings. Now, whether they don't possess that instinct and don't have it, or they're using that instinct as an advantage, because human beings are great hunter-gatherers. We've survived for millions of years on it, and it makes us who we are today. So perhaps they're using that as a plus for the humans, and they just use us with them on the inside, and use that to guide us, or use it to their advantage in their way. Whatever it is, they are better with us. They perform better with us, spliced, if you like.
Well, this is. Do you want to pause, gather your thoughts?
Yeah, can do.
And we'll sort of call this a sort of an end of part one.
Yeah,